Hi everyone and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Campbell. You can find me on Twitter at UtterlyTC. I'm so excited to say that now Game Week 14 is in the books and we move into Game Week 15. We've got another elite manager to talk us through their plans for the upcoming season prior to the World Cup. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Hi everyone and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Campbell. Look guys, I'm so excited to say this series is back with you. We had an awesome video last week and thanks so much for all your comments and the likes on the video. It's really appreciated. And this week we've got another elite manager to talk to you about how their Game Week 14 has gone, what plans they have upcoming for Game Week 15 and 16 as we get ready for the World Cup break. So without further ado, I'm super excited to say Mark Mansfield is back to have another conversation with me. Mark, welcome back to the channel. How's the season been going for you, mate?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm good.
Season's not going too bad. Started out very well and then has slowly been descending into a farce.
Well, it's all relative, mate, isn't it? I mean, we're looking at your credentials on screen at the moment with best ever finishes that we've talked through, all these top 1k, top 5k, top 10k finishes. Amazing. Live rank being in the top 50k at the time of recording. So we're recording on Sunday night, Mark. Game Week 14 just in the books, but you know, this series is all about looking forward. But briefly, do you want to talk to us about how your Game Week 14 went and any stars or anyone that you're thinking as a particular villain? How did 14 go for you?
I got 55 points after hits. Not too bad, not too good. Some villains. Well, there's a few to mention. I've got Phil Foden with his second consecutive benching. Saka, I'm considering a villain this week because I think he could have played on when I was watching the game. Just play on Saka. It should be fine.
Yeah. I mean, on the Phil Foden one, Mark, let's just spend a moment on that. I mean, managers are obviously looking at Man City and having to or wanting to treble up. And for anyone who's not gone Kevin De Bruyne, for example, they've looked to use Phil Foden in that midfield sort of upper mid-price bracket, I guess. What would your advice be, Mark, in terms of Foden? Annoying for managers to have had, to, like you say, two benchings back to back, but are you saying it's a hold? Or are you saying it's time to look elsewhere? What do you think in terms of Phil Foden there?
If Phil Foden's on the pitch, he's fine. He more than compensates for the price difference between himself and KDB. If he's not on the pitch, he's not used to. So really, I think for this week, no early transfers. Manchester City have a 3 p.m. kickoff, and that's in the first tranche of games for Game Week 15. I think you wait in the team news. Have a plan in place if Foden is not named. Have done your research and know what you're going to do and wait on that inevitable leak. Yeah,
that's a good advice. So, I mean, the fantasyfootballfix.com fixture tracker, Mark, has Man City. For these next two game weeks, obviously, we've only got two until the World Cup now. They've got them top. I mean, Fulham home and Brentford at home. It's pretty sexy, isn't it? I mean, if you've got Phil Foden, it's a hold, would you say? It's not worth the risk to try and juggle and kind of predict that Pep roulette?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hold till Saturday at 2 o'clock or 1:45. I think if he's not named, I'll move him. If he's not starting, I'll move him on. I think, you've got Rashford there. He's a good replacement. If you've got two free transfers like I do, you can look at trading up to KDB. Bowen, he can always do something against Crystal Palace and Leicester, and you can get Almiron. There's just so many options.
Heaps, I think. There? Yeah, okay. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, for anybody.
Yeah, so you're basically saying to managers to hold fire, wait for that information to come through as close to deadline as you can before potentially looking to move them on. You've named some really interesting midfield assets, I guess, there, Mark, to look at. And there are, like you say, an absolute bunch. And it's nice to hear a West Ham player. That's novel for me as a West Ham fan to hear one of the elite managers suggest that one of our players is in contention. So that's quite a novel thing. And we'll see whether or not that plays out. I mean, look, Erling Haaland obviously missed out altogether in the week for Game Week 14. Mark, and obviously people will have picked up their vice captaincy for people managers who had the armband on him. Is it sort of, it's a, again, sort of watch this space. No need to kind of panic sale and look to move him out before those plum fixtures. Again, it's a hold and keep, not just potentially for these two, but for the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, Haaland's a slightly different case because we can anticipate we will certainly want him back after the break.
Yeah.
People have got money tied up in him, but I got him at 11.5. I'll sell him for 11.8.
Right, yeah.
I'm not too concerned about that 0.3 because that'll probably drop back at least to being a 0.2 difference. I think there's a call to be made if he's missing, you know, if we get any leaks on Saturday. He can be sold, I think, if he misses this game.
Yeah, fair enough.
What you're gonna miss one game, you can get him back if you really want him for the final week.
Yeah, okay, interesting. I mean, in terms of strategy, then, Mark, we were talking off air about how this kind of, hopefully, this little mini season, I guess, is going to play itself. But you know, just to remind people, we've got 2 game weeks only before we break for the World Cup, where every manager will get unlimited transfers. So in effect, a sort of de facto wild card there for that period. In terms of like strategically, are you saying it's best hold fire, don't worry about price changes over the coming days, wait for that information and use your free transfer or free transfers in your case as close to deadline as possible? And that's kind of the advice both for going into 15 and also into 16?
Yeah, I think you've got to, because number one, there's doubts. You're not going to get any points for players who don't show up. But there are so many options that there's no one player that you must have. I've listed off a few guys in midfield. There's a few guys up front. If someone gets out of your price range on Wednesday or Thursday, just get someone else who might score points.
Yeah, I like it.
There's so many options. You don't need to be too married to anybody, I think.
No, and it's interesting as well. You should have mentioned the forwards there as well. And you know, this week, game week 14's just saw the likes of Callum Wilson really impress. I think Gabriel Jesus had an interesting day, didn't he, with a couple of assists there and obviously picking up those points. But goodness me, it could have been a lot more, couldn't it, for his owners there? I mean, in terms of that front three, Mark, we'll say if you were wild carding, obviously not expecting that to be the case, but if you were wild carding, what 3 would you sort of recommend to managers to have in their squad for game week 15 and 16? How do you see that in an ideal world? You know, a lot of people will have Mitrovic, for example, with the value tied up. Do you think that's just worth a hold, or would you be saying, do you know what, actually we can do better than that? Or is he a hold? What do you think in terms of those forwards?
Well, I have no value tied up in him, and he's absolutely gone for me. He has zero chance of staying.
Okay.
Whatever happens, I think he's gone.
Okay, interesting.
I think Jesus is a risk. I mean, he can get a yellow card against Chelsea, 1 point, and he misses the next game. So I wouldn't go near him personally.
Fair enough.
And to his owners, they deserve his points today for what they've put up with for the last.
Not been easy, has it?
No, I won't begrudge them.
No, fair dues. Fair dues.
Callum Wilson is there.
Yeah.
I have it in my head that Newcastle to Southampton is a long journey.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think Newcastle are significantly better at home. But 2 games, a penalty taker for a team going as well as Newcastle, Southampton, not great. Chelsea, not great. Can't argue with it, really.
No. And I mean, in fact, fantasyfootballfix.com's projected points, just for forward to give a bit of context there. You know, Haaland is obviously at the top there, even in spite of the flag. Was you know, we've got Harry Kane. Obviously, you pay a premium for him. Predicted just under 16 points there for those for game weeks 15, 16 and 17. I've set that a little bit too far then, actually. So if I just amend that to look at the 2, Kane is second, Gabriel Jesus third, and Callum Wilson fifth. You've actually got Darwin Núñez there as well. Núñez there is another option. What do you think about Liverpool as a collective then, Mark? I mean, for not necessarily people who've owning Mo Salah, but you know, another defeat for them, closer to the relegation zone than the Champions League at the time of recording. Is it just abandoned ship all told for you in terms of Liverpool, or do you think there's still stock in looking to their players?
I really feel bad for people who got Trent Alexander in 2 weeks ago. They deserved so much more. I may well sell Salah, I think. In terms of Darwin Núñez, I think what you're looking for in these 2 weeks is guys who can haul and get the 3 bonus points. And when you go into a match against Tottenham with guys like Son and Kane, even if them to get 3 bonus points.
Fair enough.
So for me, he's not going after.
Okay.
I would be quite interested in Son and Kane, I think. I was interested in Scamacca before today. Again, another West Ham player.
Yeah,
you know better
that's interesting.
Than me,
God, an elite manager with 2 West Ham shouts. It's like you're on the payroll. No, I like it. Okay.
And Ben Rama these days.
Ben Rama was good today. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah, I don't know about this. Yeah, it's an interesting one with Scamacca. I mean, he scored some really important goals and some good goals already from a West Ham perspective. Obviously, Antonio in the wings there and came on for him today. I think he was a little bit fortunate not to get 2 yellow cards as well. So there's things that, I mean, there are options though in that front line, aren't they? I mean, a lot of people will have Dominic Solanke as that make weight as well in there, and I think there's opportunities there. Obviously, Callum Wilson, I think, presents another challenge, doesn't he, Mark, in terms of for people who've doubled up on the defensive line from a Newcastle perspective in the likes of Nick Pope and Kieran Trippier. It's now like, is it best for Miguel Almiron in that midfield at such a cheap price, or to focus on Callum Wilson? I think that's an interesting kind of quandary. Do you have a leaning either way in terms of who represents the better pick in terms of Almiron or Callum Wilson for these next 2?
For me, it'd absolutely be Callum Wilson. He's got penalties. He's not in terms of his underlying numbers like Almiron is doing. Almiron's doing a Lingard basically from a couple of seasons ago.
Another West Ham link, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Thanks. But I think these are all quite obvious. I think if I'm looking at a fixture ticker over here, by the way, that's why I'm turning to it. Yeah. I think if you want to get a little bit enjoyable with your moves, Hudson Edouard.
Okay. Yeah.
If you need to get a little bit of cash to do something interesting somewhere else.
I like it.
Xhaka might do something sometime.
It's a good hedge.
He's getting. Yeah. I'm just. It's hard to find. You mentioned your question was, get 3 people on a wild card for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The forwards just starting too hot at the moment.
Fair enough.
So in my wild card, I went to I got a strong normally wouldn't do, but I was thinking more I'm going to go 3-5-2.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit miffed at how that's gone because I think it was a good play.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't worked out well.
Which is the nature of the game, isn't it? You make these calls strategically based on things like that Fix recommend. It doesn't mean it was a bad call that it didn't work out. But look, I get where you're coming from. And you mentioned 3-5-2. So we've talked about strategic moves then that you're sort of recommending, Mark, and how you kind of see that from a Newcastle perspective, from a forward perspective, holding transfers and what have you. But let's take a little look at the team that you've set up. Obviously, guys, we are recording on Sunday night, so there's a lot that can happen before Game Week 15. But I'm just going to flick over now and we'll take a little look at how Mark's team is shaping up right now. So you mentioned 3-5-2, Mark. I've got this grade out at the moment. So goalkeeper reveal straight away. You are rocking interesting situation here. You've got Kepa sitting on your bench and you're thinking about starting Danny Ward in an away match against Everton. What's your thinking there? I mean, obviously Kepa picked up that knock, didn't he, in the game? But was that decision made because of that, or was it a fixture-based call, or is it a newfound faith in the Brendan Rodgers defence? What are you thinking in relation to Danny Ward there?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. There's a few different things to balance here. I mean, Danny Ward is starting to get into this on his.
Yeah,
he's a laughing stock.
You're right.
And to be fair to the fella, he was good on Saturday. He's been good in a few games. I've got Castagna there.
Okay, yeah. I'm just going to reveal the defence now as well. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Double Leicester, I love it.
Kepa getting injured doesn't help.
Yeah, I love it. Double Leicester defence.
Kepa getting injured doesn't help. And then also Arsenal scoring 5 goals doesn't help me think I should play Kepa.
No, I understand. So I've just...
Chelsea.
Yeah. Look, I've just revealed on screen at the moment. So you've got this back 3 at the moment. So, at the moment, the defence you're looking to play, Kieran Trippier, We got Dunk at centre half or just in the defence there, and Cancelo with the vice captaincy. And on the bench, you've got Guay away match at West Ham. It seems like you're pretty hot on West Ham, so I like that. So you're expecting them to score. Not necessarily sure I share that optimism, but that's 30 plus years of watching them primarily disappoint. So we'll see on that one. But look, I mean, I'm just going to reveal the rest of the team here for the guys. So you're rocking the 3-5-2, and then you've got Trippier, Dunk, and Cancelo there. Away matches for two of them. Trippier's been an absolute hero, hasn't he, for the first part of this season? Absolute no-brainer to include there. In terms of Dunk and that Brighton defence, is that something where other people have kind of overlooked? Is that someone that you think is a good value pick that managers should be looking to bring in? What do you think is the appeal there?
Dunk is just one of these players I like because he has significant attacking threat. Also, Brighton can defend. They're not too bad. They've always got a possibility of a clean sheet. And Dunk is in this position I kind of like to get where that does a lot of passing around at the back. He's the fulcrum. He's like Saliba. He's the deep one. He gets passes from both sides. He gets bonus points because of this. And I like that player.
Really interesting shout, that one.
I love
that. So it's kind of those underlying BPSs that you'd imagine he'd be absolutely smashing, right? In terms of the number of passes, kind of key actions. Yeah, I like it. Okay. And represents great value as well.
He might not be top of the baseline BPS, I think, but like this is something you just see. He gets a lot of passes. He's often the furthest back.
Yeah.
I just like him. I think he's one of these guys when he loses this clean sheet, you're still happy you have him because any corner he can do something.
Yeah, he's been a threat over the years and was one of those value picks that Fix was really high on at in the preseason. I think Cancelo speaks for himself. Obviously, lovely home fixtures for 15 and 16, so don't need to belabor that point at all. Let's look at the midfield. Mark, you've got a lot of those mid-priced assets or upper mid-price. So obviously you've mentioned Salah already. We'll talk about him in a moment. But Phil Foden, Martinelli, Wilf Zaha, and Saka. Let's assume that Saka's fit for the game there. This is a really interesting setup, and we'll come on to the forwards in a moment. But piling in that money into a 5-person midfield, is that where you think the value is this season, Mark? And actually that's something you'd recommend to managers to have, a wealth of those mid to upper price midfielders and just move them around, the likes of, Mason Mount's been quite high in the past over the few weeks before. We've also mentioned Marcus Rashford, for example. Do you think this is a good setup that managers should look to have and ploughing money into the midfield?
I'm not really too into the whole setup philosophy because you're rolling a transfer for free.
Sure. Okay.
And what we see is, people, there's every week there's a different flavor of the month. Like, there was a period where we were going to be big at the back, obviously. Then there was a period where the value forwards were so great that you must have two of them with Haaland. Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, they're all hopeless, apparently. So I just came out at a wild card like this to try and protect against what I knew was coming, which was a lot of rotation and so on. And it just hasn't worked out for me for one reason or another. I think concept was solid, but it just hasn't worked out.
I mean, the thought process would have been rock solid, and the team's still good, right? I mean, it's not like it's loads of things on fire that you're looking to put out. It's the bench is really strong as well, Mark. I mean, that you talk about that in a moment, but let's devote some time to Mo Salah. Obviously, you've got the 2 premium setup here. You've got Haaland in with the captaincy, obviously on his armband, or the armband on his arm there for the Fulham game. And Salah, look, I mean, the game just gone in the Leeds home game. Obviously, picked up a return there, which is good. But do you think it's just a case of now, for owners of Mo Salah, you hold him, you stick with until that World Cup and reassess? Obviously, you've got this away match. Or he's gone. Is he just a you at this point? You say enough's enough, and you get rid.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily a hold.
Okay.
Particularly, everyone's going to have to deal with Mitrovic.
Yeah.
And if you want to deal with Mitrovic effectively, I think you either go to Callum Wilson or you go to Harry Kane. If Haaland's out next week, I'd be very happy to captain Harry Kane against
Liverpool. Wow. Okay, interesting.
I think if you have no problems and do transfers, you can get rid of Salah. But you don't need to. You know, I'm not saying you need to. And there's nothing to be afraid of. Difference with Salah. Like, people can go into tactics, whatever. The fact is, when you're playing FPL, there's nothing to be afraid of anymore.
No, fair enough. And
so
look, okay. I mean, he's disappointed, hasn't he? The whole of the Liverpool team has. It's been really frustrating for owners. You've got Dom Solanke there. Away match at Leeds. Obviously, Leeds off the back of this pretty famous victory, I guess, at Anfield now. And you've got Mitrovic on the bench. Obviously, they've got an away match at Man City as well. Gueye as well, sitting on the bench right now, Mark. But what was your thinking there in terms of Solanke? Was it the fixture? Was it something else that appealed to you? Is this something that you're still really confident on, or is this going to potentially change throughout the course of the week?
No, I mean, Solanke is just fine.
Mm-hmm.
He is what he is.
Yeah.
I didn't buy him with any great expectations.
No.
I think I got him in as part of a move to get Salah, because it became apparent that, you know, Salah was the best captain for 12 and Solanke facilitated that. It's a bit disappointing when Bournemouth scored 2 and it's Kiefer Moore that gets them both.
Yeah.
When I saw that Tottenham backline, I thought, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen here. And it did.
And it
for
did
the wrong
for
player.
another guy, another geezer. Yeah, I know. And they were good goals as well that he took, weren't they? Yeah, I know.
But, you know, Solanke's absolutely fine.
Solanke's a good pick, isn't he?
Absolutely fine. I mean, he's as good as, you know, if we're saying he's the cheapest forward going, I think he can have a place in the squad, no problem.
Okay.
If you need to call them, do.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we've talked a little bit about forwards there. There are other options, aren't there, with premiums with Harry Kane that we've talked about, sort of upper mids, I guess, in Callum Wilson that we've mentioned as well, Gabriel Jesus as well. So there are options if people are looking to move away from Mitrovic, who does not have good fixtures, does he, Mark, for these two upcoming games, with an away match at Man City and then a home game against much improved Man United, right, as well. So let's come to a bit of a natural conclusion here, Mark. But is the advice on Mitrovic to people that say have got one free transfer, no other problems? Is Mitrovic the one that you just say, thanks for your time, Alexandra, and move him out and devote some funds to finding a good replacement? You think it's time to bin him off before the World Cup?
Yeah, chase the rainbow. go for someone who could get a lot of points. Scamacca, Wilson. Who else do we say?
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, there are different options then there.
Just roll the dice. He's not going to do too much damage over the next 2 weeks.
I think Callum Wilson's going to be a really, really popular transfer, obviously for him as a direct replacement if you've got the money in there. Obviously, they're similarly priced, but not identical. So let's fast forward, Mark. If you were to say, obviously, right now we're looking at the team on a Sunday night. There's loads that can happen during the week, as we know. How are you expecting this team to look come game week 15? How are you expecting this to change? You mentioned you got 2 free transfers. Let's say Haaland is deemed completely fine. Arteta comes out and says Saka's all good. What transfers are you thinking? And people can check this obviously on the elite section on fantasyfootballfix.com. But what transfers are you thinking? Yeah, you know what? That's what I'm expecting to make.
There are 6 players on my watch list.
Okay.
If this helps, De Bruyne would need Foden to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Almiron, Rashford, Son, and Bowen.
Okay.
2 forwards, Kane.
Sorry, just lost you there, Mark, for just a second. Can you just say that? We just lost your audio for just about 10 seconds.
The list are Bowen and 2 forwards.
Okay. I think we get you there. You're just broken up a touch at the end there, but I'm just going to say this because I think my audio is still there. So apologies, guys, for that little break there. But basically there are 6 players on Mark's watch list there. Hopefully you guys caught them, but it's nice to hear Jared Bowen sneaking his way there. I didn't hear Skamaka, and I don't think that was down to the sound quality. I don't think he's made his way onto the watch list, but I'm really intrigued to see what this happens. You mentioned you're really reluctant to move Phil Foden on, even as part of a double transfer free to accommodate Kevin De Bruyne. It's something that's on my mind, and I think people who have Mo Salah will be tempted, especially after Foden's, had 2 games not starting. So just let's see if the audio's back. For people who have Phil Foden, Mark, one word: do you keep him for game week 15?
Yes,
that's what I wanted to hear as a Phil Foden owner. All right, mate. That's really good advice, and I'm really intrigued to see how this team changes over the ready for game week 15. It's very similar to mine. I'm sure it's very similar to a lot of the guys' teams there. So I'll be really intrigued to see how you use those 2 free transfers. Look, Mark, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Is there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest from game week 14 or game week 15 or indeed game week 16 that you want to get across to the viewers?
Not really. I'd say just I think it's
okay.
And probably don't take hits.
Okay.
Unless you're doing something really tasty.
Yeah, like bringing in West Ham assets. Okay. Yeah, I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Yeah.
Zuma. Okay, I think that will probably be enough West Ham chat. If we're ending on a Kurt Zuma reference, then I think we've probably come to the end of the video. Mark, look, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. And guys, apologies just for the audio at the end there. I do think we lost Mark for just 10 to 15 seconds there, so apologies for that. But hopefully the rest of the video has been all good. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to Mark this week. You can follow Mark's progress over on fantasyfootballfix.com in the Elite Manager section. Check out what his thoughts are and what his plans are, along with the likes of Corey and everyone else that we've been talking to. We had Dan Bennett on last week, which was awesome. So if you've enjoyed the video, guys, do please smash a like on the video on your way out. Do please subscribe to fantasyfootballfix.com. Do please subscribe to fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel if you haven't already. And I'm excited to say we will be back next week for another video as we look into the final game week, guys, before the World Cup. So very best of luck. Do please stay following the content all of this week. We've got lots more to come, and I will see you all next week for the Game Week 16 Elite Team Manager reveal. Have a great week, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.